Hello, Seb Aurelios from Star Wars Rebels, and you're listening to Inside the Force. Carabas. Gotta go, Hera's here.
It is a period of Star Wars mania, as new movies, comic books, novels, and TV shows populate the system. Fueled by their love and passion for the galaxy far, far away, two exceptional geeks tap into hundreds of holocrons in order to bring you the knowledge and insight of all things Star Wars. Come and join them as they go inside the Force.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Inside the Force. Dave Cottingham here with Casey Cooley.
Hello, everybody.
And what great timing that we are recording this on Thursday, August 16th, because some major news dropped, which we will get into, but we will also talk about other news as well as I got a review for Rebel Rising, the junior novel that I just finished about Jyn Erso. Then we got some other stuff to talk about. But first, of course, before we get to the big news, just some probably minor stuff that's there, right, Case?
Yeah, I mean, besides the big news today, Ron Howard's still tweeting up a storm.
Yeah.
He released a pretty cool photo today, actually. We're recording this on Thursday. But Ron Howard tweeted a picture of himself. Someone looked like a professional photo. Someone took of him.
Yeah.
Beside some monitors that was just shooting a scene. And once again, on the monitor was Chewbacca. It's cool. It was like a kind of artsy black and white. Looked like a film photo, but it could have just been a filter on a phone. Who knows? But anyway, it was cool. It was nice. Looked like a nice looking shot. It's good to see Chewbacca, of course. I was not sure. Can't really tell where he is or what he's doing, but it's just pretty. It's just neat. I mean, it's different. Just seeing all this behind the scenes photos while the movie's being shot. It's very cool. I like seeing this, and Ron Howard definitely knows how to use the social media for good marketing tactics. So I like it. It's getting me very excited. I'm very excited about the Han Solo movie. Although of course, I still have I'm still cautious about it, but still very excited. But other than that, no, nothing. Last Jedi, episode 8, we're very close. We're almost at the 100-day mark.
Yeah, 120, I think, is today.
But I mean, there's been some leaks with more toy leaks, that kind of stuff as we're approaching Force Friday. There was actually one Lego set. Was it a Lego set? I don't think it wasn't Legos, but it was like a toy set. Some people are, it's almost like it reminded me a little bit of the Micro Machines, where it was like he had this toy that was in the shape of something, like we had lightsabers, and then you open it up and it was like a scene inside of it. But this is a much bigger scale, where some people are saying this toy looks like the Death Star, but it could very well be something else. So anyways, it has other action figures inside of this toy, and one is of Snoke, and one is of, I believe it's a Praetorian Guard.
Right. Yeah.
And if this is accurate proportions, it's portraying Snoke as a much taller figure than the Praetorian Guard. So I think there were some reports that Snoke, not nearly as big as his hologram, of course, but he's about 7 foot tall, maybe a little more than 8 foot tall, and his toy reflects that. So this was a leak. This was not an official release by Hasbro or whoever, but no, it's interesting. It had his gold robe. You can kind of tell the complexion of his skin. It's that same pale complexion that we've been seeing, and he's very tall.
And explains why he's probably a CG character.
Yeah.
Right? Because Andy Serkis is, like 4'2" or something like that?
He's a short guy. Yeah. He's Gollum.
He's Gollum. Yeah.
Tiny
He's
guy.
a hobbit.
Yeah.
So, but no, I think, see, that right there has got to pretty much eliminate that he is character we already know.
Yeah, I mean,
Unless he's a reincarnated Chewbacca or something like that. You know, I don't know.
Again, unless he is Plagueis, and they've kind of
right. They hidden his
yeah.
origins.
You know, unless this is Plagueis, there's no way this is someone that we know. Not even think of someone that we've been alluded to,
correct,
referenced. Besides Plagueis, like
I mean,
I can't think of anybody else.
I don't know what species that. You know, he's a humanoid too, right? So it's like he's not.
I mean, he looks pretty human, but no, he's not.
But he's kind of rebuilt, right? I mean, humanoid
is qualities and characteristics of a human, but you're not.
But you're like human. A cyborg. You're a cyborg almost, right?
You can be. I think humanoid applies not just to living creatures and non-living creatures, but humanoid. You just have human qualities about you. Yeah. Essentially, you just look like.
So it could be like Terminator.
Yeah,
where you look like a human, but you're a machine underneath.
I'm trying to think.
Or you could be. I mean, is Vader a humanoid?
Oh yeah, he's still a human.
He's human, and then he's more cyborg machine.
But
now.
Humanoid could also apply to just an alien that has a human features. You know, like proportions of eyes and a face.
Right.
You know, you can,
but he's not human. Then.
Right, not a human.
Not human.
You can't call him human.
So the official definition of a humanoid is having an appearance or character resembling that of a human.
Yeah. So you can be
a being resembling a human in its shape. So he's not human.
Right.
He just looks human, but he's technically still an alien, I guess.
Yes, he is.
But so I guess you could. I guess cyborg is more machine man.
But I mean,
he could have machine.
I would say regardless if you're a robot or not, if you look like a human, then you are a humanoid. Right. But it could be
so like a Twi'lek is humanoid.
In some
ways,
yes. In the face, mostly.
Right. But the body is basically a human
pretty much
body.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's funny because I don't think I've mentioned that, but what was the last book I read? Oh, Inferno Squad. Mm-hmm. No. Yeah, Inferno Squad. I think they talked about, didn't they mention, they called it Twi'leks? She said Twi'lek.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't read it?
You
listened to it?
Yeah.
They said Twi'leks. But then I've heard of some other books they say Twi'lek.
Twi'lek, yeah. You can say both ways.
You can say both ways. So
yeah, it's okay. It's all accepted.
All accepted.
So, I mean, yeah, that's pretty much all the news from the movies.
Right.
Entertainment Weekly, after the big release of those articles, it's been pretty quiet again. So,
okay.
Play the waiting game.
Well, before we get into the major one... which everybody should know about.
Tease.
Yeah. Real quick, we've got a couple things. In the comic world, just go check our website out, InsideTheForce.com. Last week, Russell posted a review of the Star Wars Rogue One special one-shot, which is the Cassian and K2SO. I need to read that. I got the book. I need to read it, but Russ had a good review for it. Keep going there for that. He's posting them pretty often. He's reading them every week. We'll get him back on the show here soon too to start talking about this a little bit more. In book news, they released a Penguin Random House released the official synopsis for the upcoming Phasma novel. The official description goes like this. Bear with me because it's a little long, I guess. But discover Captain Phasma's mysterious history in this journey to Star Wars The Last Jedi novel. One of the most cunning and merciless officers of the First Order, Captain Phasma commands the favor of her superiors, the respect of her peers, and the terror of her enemies. But for all her renown, Phasma remains as virtually unknown as the impassive expression on her gleaming chrome helmet. Now, an adversary is bent on unearthing her mysterious origin and exposing a secret she guards as zealous and ruthlessly as she serves her masters. Deep inside the battlecruiser Absolution, a captured resistance spy endures brutal interrogation at the hands of a crimson-armored stormtrooper, Cardinal. But the information he desires has nothing to do with the resistance or its covert operations against the First Order. What the mysterious stormtrooper wants is Phasma's past, and with it, whatever long-buried scandal, treachery, or private demons he can wield against the hated rival who threatens his own power and privilege in the ranks of the First Order. His prisoner has what Cardinal so desperately seeks, but she won't surrender easily as she wages a painstaking war of wills with her captor, bargaining for her life in exchange for every precious revelation. The spellbinding chronicle of the inscrutable Phasma unfolds, but this knowledge may prove more than just dangerous once Cardinal possesses it, and once his adversary unleashes the full measure of her fury. Interesting. So this is really truly is about her past.
Yeah. Origin story.
His origin story. This thing comes out. This thing takes place just after The Last Jedi, because there's not that much of a gap between Force Awakens and Last Jedi. So I guess we find out how she gets out of Starkiller Base, because she's obviously in the movie. But that book drops September 1st, which is Force Friday, and that is written by
that book. That's oh my gosh,
the girl that wrote this Perfect Weapon.
I keep wanting to say Christy Golden, but it's not
Yes,
her.
I can't remember. I'm sorry.
Delilah. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, you're right.
It's late, guys. I'm sorry. Delilah Dawson.
Dawson. There you go, Dawson. Thank you. Coming out September 1st, Force Friday. And on speaking of Force Friday, there's a ton of, if you just look it up, there's a ton of imagery from just the toys and figures and stuff that's coming out Force Friday, as well as in the near future from like Black Series figures. If you're a big collection of those, Kylo Ren, Rey, Luke, Finn, all those figures are coming. If you're a big collector, look for those. New Star Wars show dropped this past week. Had Ryan Johnson actually.
Sorry, I forgot to watch that.
Sitting down with the director of is that Hamilton, I think. But they had a good conversation at Skywalker Ranch, because I think they were both at Skywalker Ranch doing the movie. And so Ryan Johnson's obviously been living there. He said he's been like there for months working on finishing the film. So they're still hard at work getting post-production done. In fact, I just saw on Instagram Ryan Johnson. It's got a little video on being in the sound booth. I'm showing Casey.
He's also good at social media.
He's very good.
He posted a lot.
But you can tell just in the interview, he's so. I mean, he's just. I feel like how he is so giddy when he's interviewed. He's an even. And this is a very good thing to say, but he's even more of a fan than Gareth Edwards was, and Gareth Edwards was over the moon.
He's a fanboy.
Fanboy. I feel like Ryan Johnson is like just taking it another step further, like how giddy he is about. Like he said in this interview, like he'd be sitting there during shooting, like they would frame a shot, and he would just like look at his DP and just start smiling, like I can't stop smiling. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah,
like,
I'll be the same. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. How do you concentrate like that? I don't know. Incredible.
Yeah.
And so I think with that, I think that's all the kind of the major news out there. I'll do a quick recap. I do want to spend a little time. I'd say minor spoilers on this. I'm going to do a quick review of Rebel Rising, which is the book by Beth Revis, junior novel that came out after Rogue One, sometime in March or April, I think.
Yeah, this year.
This past
spring.
Came out with the Guardians of the Will junior novel, but I haven't read that. They don't have an audiobook of that, which is horrible, but it's kind of short and small. It's not, did you see it? It's a really weird shaped book, too. It's like a square. It's not like long. Anyway, so Rebel Rising, though, they have an audiobook of that. So I listened to that over the past couple of weeks. Very good. I mean, it really fills in the gap. It does, just like kind of Catalyst does. It tells Jin's story from between, I mean, what you see in the beginning, the prologue of Rogue One, when her mother dies, up until literally including the scene in Rogue One where she is approached by Mon Mothma. So the whole thing, and it's cool because there's a couple flashbacks throughout the book of her on Wobani. She spends about 6 months on Wobani before. Now, see, that's what's weird too. Is like I could have swore when I'm jumping, but when she gets in Rogue One, when she gets rescued on that, she's on that transport.
Yeah.
Is that not? That's not Cassian that walks in.
No,
It's not.
It was
For some reason, I thought that was Cassian. Like, you want to get out of here?
Melshi, right? Is that his name? Melshi.
I guess.
Melshi.
But
One of those guys.
I could have swore that was Cassian. So Cassian doesn't. She doesn't see Cassian until Yavin.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she does. She doesn't recognize him obviously, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's not him. So I totally was off on that because it looks. I mean, he's got the beard and everything in there. But it's funny because it kind of every time it kind of flashes back, she has a different cellmate, and something happens to the cellmate. Like a couple of them actually like give up and refuse to work, so they get killed. And then another one was trying to escape, gets killed. I mean, it's like, but she just stays, puts her head down, and just she's trying to figure out what to do. But if you cross this Wobani, I was telling you in this book, Wobani is it is a military.
It's like a federal prison,
basically,
with the bigger criminals, kind of.
Yeah, like what do they call maximum security. Yeah, it's all just full of stormtroopers. I mean, because they're like the one that kind of somehow she's like in the cell with Jin, and she's like, okay, you ready to go? Because I got this all worked out, whatever. So like the lights went out or something like that, and their cell door flew open, and she ran out. Jin hesitated, but like she said, about 6 meters out of the cell, all these just blasters, the stormtroopers just all over the place, And anyway, so really cool. But anyway, but it also does explain the whole story with Saul Guerrero.
Yeah.
And Saul, and that's the thing is, so much like in one sense and not the other, but similarly to Dark Disciple with Asajj, you just get so much information about Saul Guerrero and what his feelings are and what his group is. And it's cool because actually the Staven, who was in Inferno Squad, which is after this, but I read that first, is in this book. So he's one of the first people that's always been behind Saul. But it really shows how his operations worked, his training for Jin, and where his original base was, all this stuff. So, but it also shows his extremism, right? Like his radicalism and extremism, and why the the rebellion was so against him being a part of them. Because he, as this is going on, see, obviously in the very beginning with Jin, there was no rebellion that they know about. There was all these just different cells and all this stuff. And again, but those cells were doing what Kanan and them were doing, which is really helping the society that they were living in, not really fighting against the Empire. They were kind of staying under the radar, stealing from them. But Saul they weren't doing that. They were blowing stuff, trying to blow stuff up, kill and then eventually, obviously, they didn't matter if they were killing civilians. And Jin, that's what Jin was. The thing about Jin, though, is Jin. Again, I'm kind of doing minor spoilers, but Jin, she was all about the behind the scenes doctoring of she was forging documents, clearance codes, so they can get somewhere. So she wasn't actually blowing stuff up. There was one scene, like I said, that really changed, and it was. I think I described it to you. They go to this. There was this governor ball, and this new governor was getting revealed, imperial governor, and Saul and them infiltrated as the wait staff. And they basically had, I can't remember the weapon. I can look some kind of just some kind of like big automatic weapons. These big automatic weapons, because they all kind of positioned themselves around this room. And Jin was supposed to stay in the ship, but she ended up coming in because she wanted to. That was when she was eager about trying to be part of the missions. Well, she walked in right when they just opened fire on like hundreds of people and was wiped them all. I mean, crazy to think and visually and hear this because there's just it talks about bodies everywhere, blood everywhere. So she started obviously really recognizing how Saul was operating, and because she wasn't she wasn't going on any of these missions.
Right.
Anyway, and you get this storyline in the scene of how they separate. And she obviously briefly describes it in Rogue One. You gave me a gun and you never came back. There's a lot more to it, obviously, but that's kind of the gist. But there was really a big battle going on at the time. She thought he had died or got killed.
Oh yeah.
So, but she hears later, like in a Hollow news, that Saw Gerrera is still alive or something like that. So anyway, but that's what's crazy about this book, though, a little bit, because it was a little surprising to me that happened when she left Saul. So at that point, she's like 15, 16. And this was only halfway through the book. So, and obviously there is 5 years or something like that until Rogue One. So I understood that there was still a lot going on, but for some reason I thought they would kind of just skip over that. But there's a couple stories in there during that time. One, an Imperial understands how she can forge, basically blackmails her in a sense, for doing stuff for her. Then she actually meets a mother and a son, has a romantic relationship with this son for about a year, and then something tragic happens to them, so she loses touch with them, and then it's like, and that part, see that right there really hits on her, and really, to me, that is what really establishes her character. And the only question I have about the book, I was kind of telling you before we started recording, that I really didn't like how they overlapped into Rogue One.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been neat to me. She gets saved on Wobani, that's fine, and then she arrives on Yavin.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
But the whole scene of them proposing to her what her mission is, that whole thing takes place.
So interesting. Yeah.
That's the epilogue of the book. So it does really start overlapping, and to me, it kind of messes with her character a little bit somewhat. I feel like you probably need to read a book though, because she mentions things in her thought process as Mothma's presenting this, as Cassian's presenting this.
Right.
She starts thinking about things, and that's in the book that, to me, she's not necessarily thinking about until that roundtable discussion in Rogue One about what do we do, about the plans.
Her arc is that she's not going with the rebellion's mission.
Correct.
She's not fighting for the rebellion. She's fighting for herself, and I guess she wants to see her father too. But mainly she's there for that one goal, and then she's
out.
Yeah.
So you
fighting Saul.
Actually, it's not until I feel like it's not until she sees her father's message.
Yeah.
That she understands how important this is.
Right.
So, as they're telling her this in the book about, you're Galen Erso, we know he's building something for the Empire. We needed to find out what it is. Saul. But she's talking about how she sees Mothma, she sees Bail Organa, and she knows them from the HoloNets.
Yeah.
And then she hears them talking about, and she says she can see in their faces hope. And the hope that she hadn't seen in Saul's people.
Yeah.
And she hadn't seen in any Imperial. And she's like, I could see that, and I sense it, and I want to be a part of it.
Interesting.
Which was very not...
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't know if they're just trying to plant that seed a little bit, but it is a little contradicting.
A little contradicting. Yeah. And I've done all these books, and there's no scenes in these books, obviously, that overlap into the films.
Right.
And I'm guessing, though, the book came out shortly after the movie, so I'm guessing that it was written kind of in conjunction.
Probably.
While the movie was getting made. So do you remember that? I mean, those scenes might have been recut
Oh,
or reshot.
yeah, maybe.
So I don't know, I mean, because you remember she then like the trailer. I think she's that in that scene. She's like, I rebel, you're rebel, right? I rebel. Like she's almost saying like I am a part of you.
Yeah.
But then that scene's out, so she's in there more about I'm gonna do what I need to do to get free of this, and if I have to help you get into the Saw Gerrera, I don't know. So maybe that was a part of it, but again, it was kind of the epilogue. So. But then you kind of look back and think about what Pablo says, right? It's like,
Oh, geez, that's right.
right? It's like
None of it matters.
it doesn't matter. It matters that there was a scene there, and they all talked.
Ugh,
What they talked about is really, or what they're thinking.
that's crazy.
It's
Still have
hearsay.
problems with that. Yeah, no, exactly. It's like, yeah. Ugh.
So that's all you got to chalk it up to, right?
Yeah, sure.
That it happens in both, and you don't know which one. One could have happened, one could the other. You weren't in there, so it doesn't. You don't know.
You were there. You know.
Yeah. Anyway, so I give it, on Audible, it gave me 5 stars rating, but I gave it 4. I gave it 4.
Solid 4. Nice.
I give it a solid 4. I put the story at 4. I put the narration was pretty good too. It was 4. It wasn't my favorite Mark Thompson, but
Yeah.
it was. I'll say it here. It was Rebecca Solar. She narrated Beth Revis' Star Wars Rebel Rising. It's a quick read. It's only like 9 hours or so.
Yeah. Did it help you appreciate Inferno Squad a little more? Or?
It did a little bit. Like I said, it really, this book more so than I think Inferno Squad, really told you what the partisans were about.
Yeah.
And Saw Gerrera, and because that ideal that lived on in Inferno Squad, because they were talking about the ideals of Saw, the spirit of Saw. We're gonna still you understand what they're talking about, and you understand what his thought process, which year after year though got worse. I mean, he was in the beginning when he first got Jyn, when she was 6, I think, or 8. No, she was 8, I think.
Yeah.
But when he was a father to her, a father figure.
Right.
He even referred to that. In fact, they called her Jyn Gerrera for a while. So she was Jyn Gerrera forever. Yeah. And then he made her change her name.
Wasn't not the Haddock name?
That was later. Liana Haddock or something like that. That was later. Then she was Jyn something else. I can't remember. She kept changing her last name. And Saul was very protective of her because he felt like that the partisans, if they found out she was Galen Erso's daughter, that they would turn her in, or something like that. So he kept her, secret, and that's why he wouldn't let her kind of get involved in missions and all that stuff. But he trained her how to fight, how to shoot.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. That was cool. That Rogue One, when she pulls out that baton thing, he trained her with that because he's like, you won't always have a blaster, so you have to defend yourself hand to hand, and
it's cool.
It's really neat. Yeah, it's really
cool.
neat.
It's so interesting that their story group, Lucasfilm, they're doing a great job of really filling in all the gaps where literally these stories are starting to overlap now. It seems like
it does.
Like you have Catalyst, which takes you right from Clone Wars to before Clone Wars even. Yeah, before Clone Wars even, though.
Right.
And going through Episode 3, then after the Clone Wars, and then but Rebel Rising picks up right with Catalyst and takes you into Rogue One, and then you have all these, of course, the movies, and then Inferno Squad's right after. So it's really,
and Thrawn's right after Rebels,
and so all these stories are really starting to fill in all the gaps, and I'm just curious, how much more are they going to try to fill in these gaps?
Well, that's what I was thinking. I think it may be. It's like they're taking these major characters, and at least giving you those stories, the story of the major character in the gaps. Yeah. Like we're getting a Han Solo film that's going to fill in the gap.
That's crazy.
Is this next thing we're talking about? Is that going to fill in the gap? Jen, you got her whole story.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I mean, the comics are filling in the gaps.
Comics
right
are filling in gaps, definitely.
They're just doing it so much where literally every year in the Star Wars universe is being covered with stories, and I'm just curious when they'll start to. Are they literally going to fill in all the holes and all the gaps until there's nothing left to do, and then okay, now let's go past the saga. Now let's go before the saga. I'm just curious.
It was really neat too because there was at one point. I don't think it was Saul's partisans. I think it was another group of partisans that she ran into later. But it started hitting on as because we get into it was during the Rebel. It had to have been during the Rebels era because because she leaves Saul pretty much right when Rebels starts, like when she's 16 or something like that, 17. And I think it was a couple years later she's with a different partisan group.
Yeah,
and they were talking about. So they were talking about how things are getting more organized, and the cells are coming together, and they talked about fulcrum.
Nice.
They mentioned a fulcrum, right? So I don't know if it was Ahsoka,
Yeah,
but
it could have been.
but that was another thing when Jen shows up on Yavin. That's one of the things she notices. She says, I had heard from these that it was getting more organized. She goes, I did not realize it was this organized and this big. Like this is a major. That's what she talks about hope and stuff like that, right? So I don't know, a little different. So speaking of filling in the gaps, of course, the major news that came today that we want to talk about for a little while is
geez, the somewhat official, unofficial announcement of a Obi-Wan.
Yeah, still not an official announcement, right?
But I mean, it's Hollywood Reporter.
It's pretty. Yeah,
I feel like they're pretty on it.
Well, and they drop a name in it, a director. So it's like,
so we got an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie, possibly, with Oscar-nominated filmmaker Stephen Daldry. Early talks to direct the film.
Yeah.
So this is on Hollywood Reporter. It's just so funny. Like this news spreads so fast.
So fast.
I got an immediate notification. Someone posted it on Reddit. I thought I was subscribed to Hollywood Reporter, but maybe I'm not. But someone posted on Reddit about this link, and I immediately, I read it, posted a quick little article on our website, and then as soon as I hit post button, which took it might have been 3 minutes after I read the article, maybe if that. I was at the office, and then Anthony, guy I work with, who was on the episode 3 commentary, walked to my office and just said, like, have you seen it yet? Like, yeah, I literally just posted it. So, and then I'm getting notifications from all the other websites, the same article, same headline, all this stuff. So it's like everybody just immediately read it, posted it. It spread within 5 minutes. It spread across the world, it felt like. So just really cool how this news and how everybody's so excited and they immediately jump on this piece of news because this is something we've all been waiting for. And it probably is real. I'm sure this is actually happening. I have no reason to doubt Hollywood Reporter's sources, but I mean, so excited. So, Obi-Wan Kenobi movie, possibly in the works. Now, there's no script as of yet. It just says that they're just talking about it. It's in early development, really early development. They haven't settled on a director yet, or there's no names for writers, no names for any other of the other creative team. And that's pretty much it. I mean, the article talks about Obi-Wan Kenobi, talks about the prequels and all this and that. It even goes in far as to say Lucasfilm is still considering movies centered on Yoda and Boba Fett, among other characters. And it talks a little bit about the Han Solo movie. But, I mean, that's all it is. Really, the only information we know is Obi-Wan Kenobi movies in the works. Stephen Daldry is in early talks to direct it. And Stephen Daldry, I guess his resume is pretty interesting. He directed I say old, but doesn't seem like it's that old. The Billy Elliot movie that came out, I think, around 2000. And The Hours, which was I remember when that came out, and it was kind of big because it had a huge cast. It had like Nicole Kidman and Meryl Streep in it. And he also directed 4 episodes of the Netflix show The Crown. So his resume he's got a very these very dramatic, very intimate type stories, not action, not space opera saga, not sci-fi or anything, or fantasy or anything like that. So it's so interesting that this is yet another director with a different set of skills, different style. That if he's hired to direct this movie, it will be maybe a different looking Star Wars movie. So, I mean, again, everybody's just saying finally we're getting Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yes.
The article made no mention that Ewan McGregor was going to be in it. I'm sure he'll be the Obi-Wan Kenobi. I cannot imagine having another Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah, that's a no-no.
Like, what if they did a prequel? I don't know. He's a young Obi-Wan Kenobi, so they cast a young kid out. No, it's got to be. It just has to be the Obi-Wan between 3 and 4. And he's on Tatooine. It's got to be that one.
It's got to be.
I mean, what?
Is it, or maybe it's a Force Ghost adventure?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's in the afterlife.
Yeah.
Of the Force, but
no, we heard back in June that they were going to make a decision. Now,
on the next slate of films.
Yeah, and you pointed out today to everybody, like, yeah, it was make a decision, not tell anybody yet.
Yeah, Lucasfilm knows what they're doing.
Yeah,
they're just not going to say it to us yet.
Yes, and I feel like this probably got leaked. I feel like this had to have got leaked.
I mean, they don't usually, I feel like, make these announcements until they have the whole creative team. So they can go ahead and say, like, okay, this is our director, this is our writer, producer, cinematographer. That's what they did for Han Solo. I think they did that for Rogue One. I can't remember, but I could be wrong about that.
I feel like the titles of the movies were not ever leaked. Like that, it was StarWars.com first.
Yeah,
I feel like everything was announced first officially before it actually broke. I mean, there were rumors, but this is almost confirming it. Without confirming it.
Because
it could. I mean, it could not. It could turn out to be untrue.
It could be untrue. It's crazy to think that someone would pick a random director such as Stephen Daldry.
See, that's right.
And say, like, this guy's going to direct Star Wars.
Right.
I mean,
because he could be sitting at home like, what?
Yeah,
I haven't talked to Lucasfilm at all.
Yeah, exactly.
What the heck is it? No, so that's what makes me feel like it's pretty legit.
Yeah.
When you start attaching names to it, because. But I do think that it. Yeah, I feel. I really truly feel like in this movie, if it's not Ewan McGregor, I do not want it made.
Yeah.
Bottom line, you cannot convince me. You can't put some other
like older actor to be Alec Guinness or something like
absolutely,
that.
And I don't, because we talked about it on the show before. The true age range, the true representation of age is actually off. Mm-hmm. Like Alec Guinness is a lot older than what Obi-Wan is character-wise in episode 4. I think we looked at it. It's a good 20 years, I think. 15, 20 years. Obviously, being on a desert for 19 years could age you really,
sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I don't think it's a stretch to, make Obi-Wan appear more like Alec Guinness, 5-10 years into being on Tatooine. I don't think that's a stretch. So, but again, if I'm watching episode 3 and then technically this would probably be in the next movie, it cannot be Ewan McGregor.
Can't be.
You know what I mean? It can't, it can't obviously be Alec Guinness because he's passed, but I don't know. It has to be Ewan McGregor. I mean, and I feel like, I truly 100% believe that they've talked to Ewan McGregor already.
Yeah.
Because I don't even think they'd go down this road unless he was committed. So I think we're going to hear that announcement sometime. But it's strange. It's kind of strange that, it makes sense that they don't have it. They won't have a big team together yet. They won't have all that until probably next year sometime because you still got to finish Han Solo and then you got episode 9 to shoot. So, this would come out in 2020, right?
It might be that third one.
Yeah. This would be 2020.
I would say it should be that third one if they unless they're thinking it's the next slate of solo spinoff films. But honestly, I mean, although I want it now, I want to see this movie like months ago.
Right.
It doesn't hurt to wait
No.
because he gets older. It fits because Ewan McGregor looks like Alec Guinness, and you can make him look even more like Alec Guinness. I don't think that's going to be a hard stretch at all. You don't need to use digital effects, that kind of stuff. But I'm totally okay with making this close to the Rogue One era or the New Hope era, as long as they make them look close.
Yeah,
because I think they can. I think, and it just depends on how it looks, but
I guess that's the ultimate question: is what story can you do?
Sure,
with a Obi-Wan Kenobi living on his own. So that's the big question. I guess the short question, though, I think, is: do we see Luke? Mm-hmm. Do we see Joel Egerton come back as Owen Lars? Yeah. I forget her. I'm sorry, I forget her name. That played Beru. Yeah. And Joel Egerton's become a really big actor.
Yeah, and he said he'd do it.
That is awesome. I mean, that would be... So right there, you've got two outstanding actors.
Absolutely.
You got Ewan McGregor, Joel Egerton to headline this film. I think it storylines, it makes you wonder, does he ever leave Tatooine? Mm-hmm. Is there a female interest at all? But here's the thing, is that we have seen him because of Rebels. We have seen him on Tatooine. We have seen that he's been there. But again, we don't know anything between that gap. So, but do we see a young Luke though? Do they cast because it's not Mark Hamill?
Yeah, I would be okay with Luke if it's like a 6, 7, 8
10-year-old Luke, maybe.
Yeah, that's fine. Running around, little mop-headed blonde little kid.
Yeah, I think you can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for like story-wise, I can't say specifically what, I can't imagine what it would be, but it would be cool, I think, is if you did like a trilogy of Obi-Wan movies, but made them stand alone in like
Adventures.
In the Great Adventures. So like, but your first one could be where he's within 5 years on Tatooine, so he's still getting accustomed to it.
Yeah.
Then the sequel jump 7 years later and like age him some and story there. And then the third movie, it's really close to A New Hope, and he looks a lot like Alec Guinness.
True.
See that progression. So again, like those 3 movies would fill the 19-year gap.
Yep.
But you could do stories of Tusken Raiders with the Hutts and bounty hunters. You can do all sorts of Black Sun. You can do all sorts of stuff. Or
you could literally, a lot of it could be truly that. I mean, do we have any sense that anybody's looking for Luke or could discover that he is a Skywalker? I guess if anybody, they say, I don't know. Does anybody care? I mean, does anybody know? Like. Is there parts of it that he's protecting the Lars homestead? You know what I mean?
And that could be a story I've been kind of thinking since read the article today, like to involve Luke, to involve Owen and Beru and all that stuff. Like, what if Luke gets kidnapped and then Owen has to turn to Obi-Wan Kenobi to help him or something like that?
Totally.
That would be a great, nice, small scale story that would involve everybody, and you're not conflicting with anything. And it would be a great performances. It would just be, it'd be so good.
Yep.
But I'm very excited.
And then, of course, it'd be awesome if you get Liam Neeson back.
Yeah. Oh, come on. Yes.
Talk to him.
Yeah,
train with him.
Mm-hmm.
Just seeing him still wield his lightsaber in practice, that just is unbelievable. So, I think those are some good storylines. I think my big question is, would he ever leave Tatooine for any reason?
Yeah.
5 years in, is it possible that Bail calls him for a favor or help with something, come help me somewhere, or I just don't know if he could, knowing Vader is out there. Oh my God. See, there's no way he can run into Vader, obviously. No way.
Yeah.
But could he run into like an Inquisitor?
Maybe.
You know,
Yeah.
because
Hush him
that's
up
what I
before
would
something
love to
happens.
see in the movies.
Inquisitors,
Inquisitors. Yeah, that would be awesome. Like, could there be an Inquisitor looking for somebody, or
Yeah.
could, maybe looking for him? I mean, that's the thing too, is the Jedi are getting hunted, right? And Vader knows Obi-Wan survived.
Yeah, so it could take place within the first year or two after Revenge
Correct.
of the Sith, and he's still trying to find Obi-Wan.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he fakes his death somehow. I don't know, to get rid of the scent, so to speak.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's plenty of stories. I think you can do 5 movies. I don't know. Like, you could do so many stories with Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Well, you definitely got to try. Yeah, you definitely got to try to lock up Ewan for 2 or 3, and then just get all those people that would be involved. Mm-hmm. I mean, I do think easily you can involve bounty hunters for sure.
Yeah.
But I just, but I just still feel like this is good early announcement. But I do think that I still think we got a long way to go before we get any details. Because here in about a month, I feel like we're just going to get the ramping up of marketing for Last Jedi. Mm-hmm. You can't really talk about any of that kind of stuff during that.
Yeah, I mean, they would have to make some big announcements. We don't have on next Celebration's 2019, and theoretically the Obi-Wan movie, if it's the third one, would be shooting by then.
Yeah, it would probably. Well, think about it. We have from May of next year, right when Han Solo comes out. Mm-hmm. There's Episode 9 for another year, right? So that whole year of leading up to Episode 9 is probably when this will get kicked in, and probably shoot early 2019.
Yeah.
Release 2020, probably May 2020, I would say. Mm-hmm. I guess maybe we'll start getting on this May every year again.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah. So, it's great news. Again, it's a rumor that it's been floating around for a long time. Mm-hmm. So that there's some truth to what was kind of on the board, probably, of discussion. Obi-Wan, Boba Fett, bounty hunters. Apparently, there's in there too. They talked about possibly a Yoda, and Bob Fett.
Bob Fett, old Bobby Fett,
Boba's uncle, Bob Fett. Someone else pointed that out on Twitter. I saw. They're like, I want to see a Bob Fett movie.
Come on down to Bob Fett's Chevrolet.
Yeah. All right, so that's obviously. I think that's kind of our first impressions. We'll keep talking about it as we hear from you, or we keep hearing about this. But I don't suspect. I suspect an official announcement eventually from Star Wars.
Yeah,
but no more further. Probably no details or anything until hell. Right now, we can't even get the official title for the Han Solo movie, let alone the information on the next one. I mean, come on. I'm a little baffled by that still.
You haven't got it yet, yeah.
I mean, I'm wondering if they know, or if they're just like really like, you know what, we know, but we're just not going to tell anybody for a while.
It's gonna be so cool. It's gonna blow their socks out.
Like people are gonna freak out. Let's just call it Han Solo.
Yeah,
brilliant. Someone wrote. Did you see? Someone wrote the title. Someone tweeted out.
This one?
Yeah, they said it's the official reveal title for Obi-Wan, and it said it was like the Rogue One, but the words said "Hello there."
Yeah, well, that was funny because someone on Reddit or somewhere posted like a GIF. It's like, oh, this is Ewan McGregor's reaction, and it's the GIF of
him dancing.
No, from Revenge of the Sith when Obi-Wan hops down to Grievous's little lair. He rises up and says hello there. So it's the GIF of him rising up saying hello there. I said that's Ewan McGregor's reaction. It was so clever.
Hilarious.
Hello there.
Yeah, everybody's posting those GIFs of him behind the scenes dancing, while he's in like the speeder.
Yeah,
like this is me
ready.
hearing about the Han Solo movie. He's like dancing. Yeah. That's great.
I bet he really is. I mean, he already knows, I'm sure, if he's doing it or not. But I bet he's giddy. So giddy.
And speaking of a complete side note before we close this out, but I was talking to a producer the other day. We started talking about geek movies, and you know, somehow I can't remember because I don't think we were talking about Star Wars. Like technically, we were just talking about movies, but apparently I need to watch it. But The Impossible, that Ewan McGregor.
I've seen about half of that. Yeah.
Apparently that movie's
it's good.
Incredible.
Yeah, really
and good. I love Naomi Watts is in it, and then Tom Holland
Holland's in it. Yeah, plays the son.
That's how we got talking about it, because we had talked about Spider-Man, and she mentioned you got to see Tom Holland in The Impossible, and I'm like, that was Ewan McGregor, and I've always loved Ewan McGregor ever since Trainspotting.
Yeah,
and I was totally blank. He was in something else before episode 1, but he is fantastic. So hope he can do Obi-Wan again. The killer thing was to see him at Celebration would be awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, so he would. Yeah, because they would, if they shot like early 2019 or late 2018, early 2019. Yeah, they would probably bring something maybe or do something at Celebration.
Have to. Yes.
2019 is a huge year. I mean,
we need to book our tickets now.
I know. You have Celebration. You have Episode 9.
Yeah.
You have the release of the park. Mm-hmm. And you have D23 that year, too.
Yeah.
Because it's every other year.
It's going to be an expensive year.
I mean, what the
expensive
heck?
Year. My child will be 2 years old that year, so...
Yeah, well, he'll be about 1.5 by the time all that stuff lands.
I'm probably be able to go. Well, I'm definitely not going to Star Wars Lands when it opens, so I would wait till the fall probably if I were to go that year. So
I think we're talking about going that summer, that time, something like June or July.
Yeah.
Although I may have to say, well, no, because I'm going to Celebration, so I have to save my funds.
Yeah, I just think it's going to be. So, I feel like it's going to be so packed. Probably still in June.
But see, I hate how they're doing, because I want to do a D23.
Yeah, that would be so much fun.
And it's the same. If it's the same year every time, gosh,
hate that.
I can't
every
do
other
that.
year. Just
do it every other year, so that we have something every year. Yeah. Come on, Lucas.
Now, as soon as they announce the location of the next Celebration, we need to go ahead and book our tickets and all that stuff and get media passes and all that good stuff.
Yes, and that's why, again, I feel like they should do every other year, do Celebration, keep it in Orlando, and D23 is in Anaheim.
Sure. Coast
to coast, send people both ways, because then you get people going to D23 and then going to the Disney park in Disneyland.
Yeah.
And you got Disney Park in Orlando with Disney World and blah, 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 blah. Just let us run the show. All right, so good discussion there. We'll be back next week, talk more. Of course, I'm sure we'll have a lot of thoughts on this Obi-Wan thing as it gets revealed more, but we still got an incredible film coming this December. Mm-hmm. And our journey for the Star Wars The Last Jedi is continuing on our YouTube channel. Go to YouTube and look us up, Inside the Force. Right now we've got episodes 1, 2, and 3 on there, our commentaries with guests of ours and trailers, fan trailers. Got some good feedback. I'm getting some good feedback on episode 3.1. I kind of boosted the post on that so we can try to target some.
Yeah.
Got some good stuff. One guy did say that he did say that it was possibly too revealing. That in context of trying not to think, in context of looking at it like you've never seen it before.
Sure.
The reveal of Anakin fighting Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure I agree with that, but. Because I'll talk to you about it. Like, there's definitely things I wanted to keep out of there as to reveal. For example, Sidious.
Right.
Like, there's no reveal. Sidious is Palpatine in that. Mm-hmm. There's technically no reveal that he becomes Vader. Right. I mean, there's a Vader shot at the end, but if you didn't know, you don't see him burnt up and all this stuff, right? So, and then you made a good point that it's like, how do you know Obi-Wan's not the bad one?
Sure.
I mean, he yells, "You're the chosen one," I guess. But I mean, still, it's very vague. I feel like it's very vague, and it shows. And again, to me, episode 3 is not it's not that Anakin is evil. It's the story of how he turned, why he turned evil, which is not in that. So,
and all the Padme stuff. And,
yeah, exactly. That's none of that's in there.
The Jedi Order, and
the point of view stuff. Yeah, it's just
how the clones turned bad. All that. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah. Anyway, working on episode 4 and Rogue One, which is going to be landing to you guys in September. So both films, Rogue One, which we had our good friend Jeb Smith sit in on, and then of course our very own Russell Johnson, who's doing a bunch of our reviews, comic reviews, is on there for episode 4. So cutting those trailers and getting those out to you in early September. Then of course episode 5 will be in October, 6 in November, The Force Awakens in early December, right before the movie comes out. The Last Jedi. We're 120 days away. Nice.
Deep cut.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening. InsideTheForce.com. Of course, social media all over the place. Inside the Force. He's Kryptonian1138. I am D. Cunningham21. Thanks for listening, everybody. For Casey Cooley.
Mos Eisley Spaceport. You'll never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. So
we must be cautious.
Yeah, we'll learn about. I mean, he might go to Mos Eisley.
That would be killer.
Or learn exactly. We got to see how he builds reputation.
How public does he get?
Yeah.
It's like,
because I think he had that reputation. If I'm not mistaken, maybe it's old canon, but everybody knew in the movie. Everybody knows of him as the Hermit, Wise Old Hermit.
Yeah, and there was a book, Kenobi,
right? So,
which was narrated by James Arnold Taylor.
Oh man, good. Yeah,
he
needs to have a cameo in the Obi-Wan Kenobi movie.
I wonder if they'll have him narrate if they do an actual another novelization of this.
I've got to.
Anyway, thanks guys for listening. Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Obi-Wan. They're going to call it Old Ben. That's what they're going to call the movie.
Old Ben.
Old Ben.
Yeah. All right, take care, everybody. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for listening. We appreciate it. He's Casey.
Goodbye, everybody.
I'm Dave. And in the words of Obi-Wan, the Force will be with you always.
Thank you for listening to Inside the Force, a Star Wars podcast hosted by David Cottingham and Casey Cooley. For more shows, additional content, articles, and the latest Star Wars news, please visit InsideTheForce.com. Inside the Force. For the Force in all of us.